Okay, do you want to know the #1 way to boost your home's perceived value? Well, that is by increasing its curb appeal. Curb appeal is literally your home's hello to every single visitor, every single person that drives down the street. Not to mention, it is the way that your home welcomes you at the end of the day. So today I'm sharing the top 10 ways to boost your home's curb appeal. Okay, so the first way to boost your home's curb appeal, and probably one of my very favorite ways, is by opting for mature plantings. So this applies if you are sprucing up your yard, your front yard, your landscaping around your house, the front entry to your house. If you can, opt for more mature trees and plants when you're landscaping. First of all, it gives you the look of abundance initially. You don't have to wait years, and it just makes your home look and feel so much more established. Now, if you don't have the option to invest in larger mature plants when you're landscaping or when you're adding to your flower beds, then do a little bit of research and find some plants that grow really fast. There are lots of trees like these river birches right here that grow very, very quickly. I planted these not even 3 years ago, and they're probably 25 feet tall now. So do your research, make sure you're choosing plant material that's gonna grow quickly and fill in and give your home that lush feeling that boosts curb appeal instantly. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the second tip, and that is to think about not only the entrance to your house, but also the entrance to your driveway. So we have a pretty long driveway at our house, but a few years ago, I decided we needed to spruce it up. So I added a retaining wall, I added tons of plants up the driveway, and then of course the trees. We've got some really beautiful river birches and then some cherry blossoms. Lastly, we added these brick pillars and the lanterns on the front of them. So these will light up at about, I think it's like 6 p.m. every night. And it just creates such a warm and welcoming first impression as you pull into the driveway. Okay, one last tip before we head up the driveway and talk about your home's exterior is to address your mailbox and dress it up a little bit. Everyone has a mailbox, regardless if it's on the street like this or if it's on the front of your house. And it needs a little love. So if you have a freestanding mailbox like I do, my suggestion would be maybe to beef it up a little bit with some brick. So we've got a really beautiful brick pillar that our mailbox is set in, and we've dressed it up with this Carolina jasmine. And I love doing this for a couple of reasons. It gives that whole like cottage vibe that I'm obsessed with, ties into the rest of the land, some plant materials that we have throughout our entire property. And also Carolina jasmine stays green all winter long. So even when other things may die back, the mailbox always looks great because it's dressed in this beautiful green foliage. Okay, now let's head up to the house and talk about all of the curb appeal improvements that you can make to the front of your home. Okay, next up on the list is your landscaping that surrounds your home. So we talked earlier about your entrance, but now I'm talking about all of the landscape beds that are actually right at your home. This makes a really, really big impact. Probably one of the biggest impacts on your home is how you decide to landscape these beds. So I, of course, like to use those mature plants, like I said earlier. And then I also like to make sure that I have layers and levels of plants. Now, this is the front of my house, and honestly, it does not get a lot of sun because of the way that the house faces. So I can't do tons of beautiful flowers up here. One, because I don't get enough sun. Two, because the deer would literally wreck them the day I planted them. I mean, we have a really bad deer problem in our area, and they eat just about everything except for boxwoods and some magnolias and stuff. So I've purposefully chosen plants that would look very well established in a short amount of time, and that the deer don't eat, and that thrive in not full sun. And I've repeated those plants. So my tip is, when you're thinking through what types of plant materials you want to have in the flower beds that are attached to your house, think about making sure you've got some height, you've got some visual interest with either flowers or some varying levels of green. I have lots of different depths of green in my plantings. And then think about defining some edges. So I've got boxwoods that line our walkway that goes up to the front door. I've got the same boxwoods line the flower beds. The boxwoods give everything a bit of formality. Now, these haven't, Delta's making sure that I do a good job on this video. These boxwoods have not gotten big enough yet where they've grown into a continual hedge, but they will. So these, I think, are 2 years old, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, they're not very old, and they're pretty established already. They were tiny when I planted them, and I will say that is the one time that I did not choose mature plants, because it would have cost me a fortune. I think I planted 140 or something boxwoods, so I had to get the baby. I think I got like the 1 gallons. I don't know. I couldn't do the 3 or 5, whatever it was. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Just think about your plantings. If you can do mature plantings, I say do that. When I chose like the hollies and the magnolias, they're really big now because they've been here for a long time. But when I planted them, they were as big as I could afford, honestly, because I didn't want some tiny little 4-foot tree. I mean, if you buy a tree that's 4 foot, unless it's a vigorous grower, it's going to take some years. If you're going to stay at your home for years, more power to you. Get the baby plants that don't cost very much. But if you possibly might want to sell your home in the next few years, I say go with a little bit more mature plantings. Okay, so I mentioned the walkway, and that's another one of the great things to boost your curb appeal, and that is to really think through how visitors will approach your home and make it welcoming and thoughtful. So we added this rock walkway probably 3 years ago. I didn't have it here initially. I wanted those like rocks that were laid in the grass where the grass was growing in between them. Well, let me just tell you something. We live in Arkansas. Our zone is 8A, and that is not flying here unless you're using turf to go in between your rocks, because it's so hot in the summer. Everything died. It looked terrible. The grass was like brown in between my rocks. So I had to pull it all up and do it again. And this time we installed the rocks with mortar, and it looks fabulous. It kind of meanders up to the house. I've got landscape lights, which we'll talk about in just a second. And it creates a really beautiful and welcoming approach to the front door. Okay, moving right along, we are going to the front porch. Front porches are like the golden standard when it comes to curb appeal. So you need to think about your front porch or your front stoop or your front, whatever you have, however you enter your home. Most of us have a front door, and the way that we approach our home and dress this area up makes a big impact on our curb appeal. Now, a lot of times I'll have lots of potted plants out here, especially in the fall. That's my favorite time to decorate the front porch. But right now I just have these giant ferns, and they look fabulous and they look great from the street. Our driveway is really long, so I have to have plants on the front entrance that are massive if I want to see them from the street. So that's the first thing, is think about your potted plants, what you're going to include as people approach the front door of your home. Then your door. If your door is a little worn, or the paint is chipping off, or maybe, you've got a crazy color on there that doesn't go with the rest of the color palette of your house, maybe you need to address your front door. Your front door is so important. It's like the grand welcome into your home for all of your visitors. So you want to make sure that your front door is super welcoming and ties in to the rest of the architecture of your home. Lastly, when it comes to your front porch, of course, wreaths and a mat and all that stuff. I mean, that's standard stuff. That's easy. But think about your entrance lights. So either sconces or maybe you have a lantern above your porch. My suggestion is to make sure that it ties into the architecture of your home, the style of your lanterns or of your, sconces or whatever it is on your porch. And if you have the opportunity to include a gas fixture, I say do it. Now, this only applies if you're building or if you're renovating, but it surprises me how many of our clients don't realize how easy it is when they're building to run a gas line above their front door or on the pillars that are on each side or the columns or whatever it is, and have gas fixtures. They create such a beautiful warm glow in the evening. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to have gas. It's going to cost too much. Let me tell you something. This gas lantern above my front porch, I think it costs about $4 a month to run that gas lantern. So the beauty of it and the charm of it far outweighs the cost. Okay, now that we're on the subject of lighting, I want to talk about exterior illumination. That sounds like something that's supposed to be, oh my gosh, it sounds like it's like Christmas Vacation. That's hysterical. That's actually one of my family and I's favorite Christmas movies. I'm pretty sure I know the whole thing by heart. Anyways, Clark W. Griswold would be proud of us talking about exterior illumination, and it is really important for your home's curb appeal. Think about it. Yes, we drive up to our home during the day. Visitors come to our home during the day, but they also come to our home during the evening, and we come home during the evening. So we want the outside of our home to be welcoming at night. And the best way to do that is to make sure that your home is illuminated beautifully. You can do that with pathway lights, landscape lights, both, and one of my very favorite ways is to do some really beautiful wall washes on your home. Out of all of the exterior lighting that we have at our house, the wall washes are my favorite thing because they create so much drama at night and they cast shadows from the plants onto the brick of our home. A couple of pro tips for the wall washes, because we had to kind of play around with this when we were installing them. We did not install them when we built the house. We did it a few years later. And what we realized was when we brought those out away from the house and angled them up, it created a larger spray, I guess, or larger arc of light against the house, and it made it feel more subtle than if the wall washes were directly onto the house. A lot of times you'll see people install wall washes actually on the front of the house, whether it's on the brick or the rock or whatever it is, and they kind of splay up and they can feel a little abrasive, and they kind of can make a house look spooky. I don't know how another way to say it other than like, you know, when you hold a flashlight like right underneath your face and you get all those dramatic like shadows, it's like super scary. Okay, don't do that to your house. Don't put your wall washes right underneath your house's face and make it look scary. Bring them out a little bit. I would say ours are probably 10 to 12 feet out because our flower beds are really deep. You don't have to go that far out if you didn't want to, but it creates this really beautiful wash of light on the front of the house. That and the pathway lights and the landscape lights, and I even have some string lights I'm sure you've seen in the back garden that are over the cut flower area. All of those little points of light in the evenings creates the most welcoming and charming curb appeal that you could ever get. Okay, so my last tip is a fun one, and that is to just think about adding some exterior accents that are unique to your home. So this could be shutters. This could be a pergola, a really beautiful little picket fence or fencing, maybe some pillars like we saw at the front of my entrance, or even upgrading like your gutters. Maybe your gutters are outdated and they need to be upgraded a little bit. Those little details and accents seem small by themselves, but actually they can make a really big impact on your home, and they can make your home feel super unique. If you look at all the houses on your street and none of them have shutters, think about what a difference that would make on your home if you added shutters to your home. It's going to make your home stand out. Likewise, if no one else has a pergola at the entrance to their walkway, or no one else has really great half-round gutters, those things make a big difference. And not only do they make your home look better, but they impact the value of your home exponentially. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and you have a few new ideas for increasing your home's curb appeal. Now, if you want some more landscaping and garden ideas, I want you to meet me in this next video, and I'm going to take you on a full tour of my flower garden. I'll see you there.